Mansa Musa, 1280 to 1337, was the ruler of the Mali Empire and is widely regarded as one of the wealthiest individuals in history. He became emperor, or Mansa, in 1312 and expanded Mali's influence across West Africa, controlling vast gold and salt trade routes. One of his most famous achievements was his pilgrimage, Hajj, to Mecca in 1324. He traveled with a massive caravan of thousands of soldiers, servants, and camels carrying gold, distributing so much wealth along the way that he reportedly caused inflation in Egypt for years. Mansa Musa was also a great patron of education and architecture. He commissioned the construction of mosques, libraries, and universities, including the famous Sankore University in Timbuktu, which became a center of learning. His reign marked Mali's peak as a powerful and prosperous empire, and his legacy continues to influence African history and global discussions on wealth. Welcome to AfriFacts, the channel where we explore the rich and untold stories of African history and heritage. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage, Hajj, to Mecca in 1324 is one of the most famous journeys in history, known for its sheer scale, extravagance, and impact on the global economy. As the ruler of the Mali Empire, one of the richest states of the medieval world, Mansa Musa undertook the pilgrimage not only as a religious obligation but also as a demonstration of his empire's power and wealth. Mansa Musa's journey to Mecca. Mansa Musa's caravan was legendary. Reports suggest he traveled with an entourage of about 60,000 people, including soldiers, officials, merchants, and enslaved people. He also brought 80 to 100 camels, each carrying hundreds of pounds of gold. The journey stretched across the Sahara Desert through Egypt before reaching Mecca. When Mansa Musa arrived in Cairo, he met with the Mamluk Sultan al-Nasir Muhammad. He reportedly gave away so much gold in the city, distributing it to the poor and spending lavishly that he caused massive inflation, devaluing gold for over a decade. To stabilize the economy, he later borrowed gold at high interest rates before leaving Egypt. His arrival in Mecca and return. After reaching Mecca and completing his pilgrimage, Mansa Musa returned to Mali in 1325. On his way back, he brought scholars, architects, and artisans from the Islamic world, helping to transform cities like Timbuktu and Gao into centers of learning and trade. He also commissioned the construction of mosques, libraries, and universities, including the famous Sankore University in Timbuktu. Legacy of Mansa Musa pilgrimage. Mansa Musa's Hajj not only solidified Mali's reputation as one of the wealthiest and most powerful empires of its time but also connected West Africa more deeply with the Islamic world. His pilgrimage spread tales of Mali's riches across Europe and the Middle East, even influencing the creation of the famous Catalan Atlas of 1375, which depicted him holding a golden scepter and a massive gold nugget. Mansa Musa's journey remains a symbol of African wealth, power, and cultural exchange, making him one of the most legendary rulers in history. Mansa Musa, the 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire, was not only the richest man of his time but also a great patron of education, religion, and architecture. His reign, 1312 to 1337, marked a golden age for Mali, during which he invested heavily in the construction of mosques, libraries, and universities, transforming cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Niamey. Niani into centers of learning and culture. 1. Patron of education. The rise of Timbuktu as a knowledge hub under the reign of Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa's commitment to education was driven by his deep Islamic faith and his desire to integrate Mali into the larger Islamic intellectual world. After completing his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he returned with scholars, architects, and religious leaders from Egypt, the Middle East, and North Africa, helping to elevate Timbuktu into a major center of learning. Timbuktu, once a small trading settlement, became a hub for scholars, theologians, and poets. The city's madrasas, Islamic schools, and universities attracted students from across Africa and beyond. Subjects such as Islamic law, astronomy, medicine, mathematics, literature, and philosophy were taught, making Mali a beacon of knowledge in the medieval world. 2. The construction of Sankore University under the reign of Mansa Musa. One of Mansa Musa's most enduring contributions to education was the expansion of Sankore University in Timbuktu. Originally built as a mosque in the 10th century, it was greatly expanded under Mansa Musa's rule, with the help of Abu Es Haq Es Saheli, a famous architect from Andalusia, modern Spain, whom Mansa Musa met during his pilgrimage. Sankore University became one of the world's greatest learning institutions, often compared to the prestigious universities of the Islamic world, such as Al-Qarawiyyin, Morocco, and Al-Azhar, Egypt. It housed a vast collection of manuscripts, books, and scientific texts, many of which were written by African scholars. At its peak, Sankore and other madrasas in Timbuktu had over 25,000 students, making the city a true intellectual powerhouse. The university's library was home to an estimated 700,000 to 1 million manuscripts, covering topics ranging from theology to astronomy. This made Timbuktu one of the largest centers of knowledge in the medieval world. Some of these manuscripts, known as the Timbuktu manuscripts, still exist today and provide valuable insights into Africa's rich intellectual heritage. 3. Mansa Musa's architectural legacy. Beyond education, Mansa Musa was also a great builder, commissioning the construction of grand mosques, palaces, and public buildings throughout the empire. His architectural projects not only reflected his faith, but also showcased Mali's wealth and power. Key architectural projects. 1. The Great Mosque of Jingareber, Timbuktu. Designed by Abu Es Haq Es Saheli, the Jingareber Mosque is one of the oldest surviving mosques in West Africa. Built using mud bricks, wood, and limestone, it features Sudano-Sahelian architecture, with large wooden beams and unique minarets. The mosque became a major site for Islamic scholarship and religious gatherings. 2. Mosques in Gao and Niani. Mansa Musa commissioned the construction of several mosques across the empire, including in Gao, another major city. Niani, Mali's capital, was also transformed with new palaces, religious sites, and trading centers. 3. The Royal Palaces. Mansa Musa expanded and built luxurious palaces, particularly in Timbuktu and Niani, which housed not only royal courts but also centers of administration. These palaces were decorated with intricate designs and reflected a blend of West African and Islamic architectural styles. Mansa Musa's architectural and educational projects had long-lasting effects on West African civilization. Islamic learning flourished. Timbuktu remained a center of Islamic education for centuries, attracting scholars from across the Muslim world. Cultural exchange. Mali's connection to North Africa and the Middle East deepened, enriching West African culture, language, and trade. Inspiration for future kingdoms. Later West African empires, including the Songhai Empire, continued to invest in education and architecture, inspired by Mansa Musa's achievements. Mansa Musa's dedication to education and architecture not only enriched the Mali Empire but also left a lasting legacy that shaped West African history. His patronage of Sankore University, his construction of mosques, and his commitment to knowledge turned Timbuktu into a global center of learning. His influence is still remembered today as a testament to Africa's historical contributions to education, scholarship, and architectural innovation. Mansa Musa's wealth and generosity, the richest man in history. Mansa Musa, the ruler of the Mali Empire from 1312 to 1337, is widely regarded as the richest person in history. His wealth was so immense that it is difficult to quantify in today's terms. He controlled the vast gold and salt trade of West Africa, making Mali one of the most prosperous empires of the medieval world. However, what truly set Mansa Musa apart was not just his wealth, but his generosity, which left a lasting impact on the people and regions he encountered. The source of Mansa Musa's wealth. His wealth were from Mali's gold and salt trade. The Mali Empire sat on some of the world's largest gold reserves, particularly in Bambuk, Bure, and Galam, modern-day Guinea and Mali. During Mansa Musa's reign, Mali supplied over 50% of the world's gold, making him the wealthiest ruler of his time. Salt, a valuable commodity in medieval times, was also a major source of wealth. The empire controlled salt mines in Tagaza and Tadeni, trading with North Africa and the Middle East. Another source of Mansa Musa's wealth was trade and economic power. Mali's wealth was not just in gold. The empire controlled major trans-Saharan trade routes, taxing merchants who traveled through its territory. Goods such as ivory, cola nuts, textiles, and slaves were also traded, further enriching the empire. Timbuktu and Gao became thriving commercial centers, attracting merchants from North Africa, Egypt, and even Europe. 2. Mansa Musa's legendary generosity. Mansa Musa's generosity was as legendary as his wealth. He believed in charity, religious devotion, and supporting scholars, artists, and the poor. The 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca had a display of wealth and generosity. Mansa Musa's most famous act of generosity occurred during his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. He traveled with 60,000 people, including soldiers, scholars, and slaves, and carried tons of gold on 80 to 100 camels. He distributed gold freely to the poor in every city he passed, including Cairo, Medina, and Mecca. He also built mosques and gave lavish gifts to rulers and merchants. Impact of his generosity on Egypt's economy. Mansa Musa spent so much gold in Cairo that he caused inflation, disrupting the local economy for over a decade. To fix the problem, he later borrowed gold at high interest rates to stabilize the market before leaving Egypt. His generosity made Mali famous across Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe. 3. Patronage of scholars, mosques, and education. Building mosques and universities. Mansa Musa used his wealth to build mosques, libraries, and universities across Mali. He commissioned the construction of the Jingareba Mosque in Timbuktu, designed by the famous Andalusian architect Abu Es Haki Es Saheli. This mosque remains a key Islamic site today. He expanded the Sankore University, transforming it into one of the most prestigious centers of learning in the medieval world. These institutions attracted scholars from North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, strengthening Mali's reputation as a hub of knowledge and culture. He supports scholars and artists. Mansa Musa provided financial support to Islamic scholars, poets, and teachers, bringing some of the greatest minds to Mali. He promoted Islamic education, ensuring that religious and secular knowledge flourished. Under his rule, Timbuktu became home to a vast collection of manuscripts and books, many of which still exist as part of the Timbuktu manuscripts today. 4. Impact of Mansa Musa's wealth and generosity. Mali gained global recognition. His generosity and wealth made Mali famous worldwide, leading to its depiction in the 1375 Catalan Atlas, one of the most important medieval European maps. The atlas shows Mansa Musa sitting on a throne, holding a massive gold nugget, symbolizing Mali's wealth and influence. The wealth of Mansa Musa was pivotal in strengthening Mali's economy. By investing in education, trade, and religious institutions, Mansa Musa ensured that Mali remained a powerful empire even after his death. His wealth funded infrastructure, making cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Niani key commercial and intellectual centers. Mansa Musa's legacy of generosity. His pilgrimage and charitable acts solidified Mali's ties with the Islamic world, increasing trade and cultural exchange. His reign demonstrated that African kingdoms were not only wealthy but also centers of civilization, learning, and generosity. Conclusion. Mansa Musa's unparalleled wealth and extraordinary generosity left a lasting impact on Mali and the world. His lavish spending, charitable giving, and patronage of education and architecture made him a legendary figure in history. His legacy lives on in the historical records of Africa, the Islamic world, and beyond, proving that the Mali Empire was one of the greatest civilizations of its time. If you've enjoyed learning about this incredible civilization, don't forget to like this video to support our mission of uncovering African history. Subscribe to AfriFacts for more deep dives into the rich and diverse stories of Africa. Share this video to spread the word about Africa's heritage far and wide. Until next time, let's keep making Africa proud.